Shared parameters are custom parameters that you define and add to multiple categories of elements in a project. They can be shared amongst several other projects or families, hence the name shared parameter. You can use shared parameters in schedules and tags. You can create shared parameters while working in a project and in the family editor. When you create a project parameter, it can appear in schedules but not in tags. Family parameters do not appear in schedules or tags. You must create shared parameters in order to have parameters appear in tags. Projects and families then reference the shared parameters. This keeps parameters consistent and cuts down on errors. Shared parameters are stored in external shared parameter files. They are just simple text files. However, be aware that you can only link one shared parameter file to a project. In this project, switch to the Level 2 HVAC plan and select one of the water source heat pumps in the south portion of the building. Then, in the Properties palette, click Edit Type. Realize that this heat pump does not have a property to identify the energy efficiency ratio, or EER. Most of the type parameters deal with the construction and electrical requirements. Click Cancel to close the dialog. We can create a shared parameter in order to specify the EER for mechanical equipment. To create a shared parameter, on the Manage ribbon, in the Settings panel, select Shared Parameters. Revit displays the Edit Shared Parameters dialog. Here, you can click Browse to find a previously created shared parameter file or choose Create. In this case, select Create. In the Create Shared Parameter File dialog, I'll navigate to the folder where the exercise files for this chapter are located and name the file CAD Learning Shared Parameters. Then I'll click Save. Back in the Edit Shared Parameters dialog, the shared parameter file is mapped to the text file we just created. The first thing we must do now is create a group. In the Groups section, click New. In the New Parameter Group dialog, enter Energy Ratings, and then click OK. Once you do, the new group name appears in the parameter group list. Also, in the Parameter section, New is available. Select New. In the Parameter Properties dialog, type EER in the name field. Realize that you can also choose the discipline and type a parameter. I'll set the type to text and then click OK. I'll click OK again to close the Edit Shared Parameters dialog. Now we can use the shared parameter to create a project parameter. To do so, on the Manage ribbon, in the Settings panel, click Project Parameters. The Project Parameters dialog lists parameters that have been created in this project. Click Add to open the Parameter Properties dialog. In the Parameter Type section, you can see that there are two types of parameters that can be created: project or shared parameters. Pay attention to the differences. Project parameters can appear in schedules but not in tags. Shared parameters, on the other hand, can be shared by multiple projects and families, exported to ODBC, and appear in schedules and tags. Select Shared Parameter. The first three options in the Parameter Data section dim. Recall that when we created the shared parameter, we already specified those three options. Also, Select is active. Click Select to open the Shared Parameters dialog. Since the project is now mapped to the shared parameter file we created, the shared parameters in that file appear here. Once again, remember that you can only use one shared parameter file in a project. Since we only have one shared parameter, EER is highlighted. Click OK. Back in the Parameter Properties dialog, on the right side in the Categories list, I'll select Mechanical Equipment. Notice that you can use the Filter list to display categories from other disciplines. Also, you can use Check All or Check None to quickly select the categories you want. I'll select Hide Unchecked Categories to make sure I selected the categories I want. In the Parameter Data section, I'll choose Type so that this parameter is a type property. Lastly, in the Group Parameter under drop-down, I'll choose Green Building Properties and then click OK to close the dialog. Now the new parameter appears in the Project Parameters list. I'll click OK to close this dialog. Select the heat pump again and click Edit Type in the Properties palette. At the bottom of the dialog, you can see that EER has been added under the new section. I will enter an arbitrary value of 40 and then click OK. Recall that we chose Mechanical Equipment as the category for the project parameter. Therefore, only elements in that category will have the EER parameter in this project. But remember that the parameter is still a project parameter. Therefore, if the loadable families are used in another project, the parameter will not be available. However, you can open any family in the Family Editor and add a shared parameter. Then the parameter would be available in any project in which the family was loaded into. In this case, I wanted the parameter to be available for each element in the Mechanical Equipment category without having to add it to each family individually. Since we created a shared parameter, we can also use the parameter in a tag. I'll select one of the Mechanical Equipment tags and click Edit Family in the contextual ribbon. In the Mechanical Equipment tag family, I'll select the text. This is actually a label which reports values for designated parameters. In the contextual ribbon, I'll click Edit Label. In the Edit Label dialog, pay attention to the Category Parameters list on the left. The EER parameter is currently not available, but we can add it. I'll click Add Parameter below the list. In the Parameter Properties dialog, you can see that Shared Parameter is the only option. I'll click Select to open the Shared Parameters dialog. Since we opened this family from the project, the family is also mapped to the shared parameter file we created. Here, you can choose the shared parameter and use it in a tag. I don't want to modify the Mechanical Equipment tag, so I'll close the dialogs and close the family. Realize that creating shared parameters allows for much more flexibility when creating tags and schedules, as well as use between other projects and families. In this example, we created a shared parameter and then used it to create a project parameter. Be aware that you can also add shared parameters directly to a family in the Family Editor, and then load the family into a project.